Welcome, one and all, to the DL debate. Thanks so much for tuning in now on Highland Radio or back via the podcast. This is your weekly GA roundup, and this week we have a lot to round up. It was hurling finals weekend, junior, intermediate and senior titles handed out at the O'Donnell Park at the weekend for Masters. Buncrana and Burt taking home the trophies. We're going to discuss that with Dara Boner of the Donegal News and County star Sean McVeigh shortly. All the action from O'Donnell Park. Then we're going to join up with John Gildea. John's going to run his eye over the fourth round draw in the senior championship and a couple of the big games that's in that. And then finally we're going to speak with Michael McMullan around the vacancies in Ulster senior football management, notably Derry, of course, and Tyrone, of course, Monaghan looking for a new manager as well. But first up, as I say, we're going to look at a huge day in club hurling in Donegal, and I'm joined by, as I say, Dara Boner of the Donegal News and Sean McVeigh. How are you, lads?
Thanks, Brendan.
Hi, Brendan. Hi, Dara.
You're looking good, man. Looking fresh on the Monday. Hey, you didn't have anything hard last night. You were kept at bed early.
Bed early last night.
You
no big celebrations.
I like this. This is precision sports technology. I love it. If anybody's watching this online, Sean, that suits you. Yeah, this backdrop. I like this. I must get one of them myself.
That's it. I have to at least pretend I'm in the gym anyway.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Oh, hey, listen, no better man. Tell me, fair play to you all in O'Donnell Park. You know, the facilities and the pitch. Sean, just before we get into the games and it with yourself and Dara, just about the pitch. How vital is that? You know, we talk about the game of hurling and the having that type of surface to play on, Sean, and having that facility that is O'Donnell Park.
Yeah, geez, the pitch was an unbelievable shape at the weekend. In fairness, the Vincent and Andy and all the lads did some job in getting it in shape. But in fairness, they always have it in tip-top shape. Like there's a lot of pride that the lads have there in Donegal, bringing all the hurling games there, the county finals being played there. And it's just great, you've seen even at the weekend, there was periods where the ball was let go on the ground and it's not getting caught up, and it just makes for a good standard. There's nothing, the ball's not getting caught up, as I say, and it's a fair play to the lads for getting ready, because it really was in great shape. And it was great to even see smaller things like, you had the pipe band and stuff there at the weekend, so it really made for a great occasion all around.
Yeah, and this is on your heart and soul, from in that hurling, one of Donegal's me and men, you're obviously a dual player. So just can you feel it, Sean? Football in the county, is it obviously the senior team you're involved in is getting better and better each year. It's and now you see the club as well. Days like yesterday, that there's so much more importance coming with it, or Saturdays.
100%, and you see that I suppose the fact that we've been playing at a higher level, at inter-county level, the last number of years, you see it filtering down to the club. You have massive representation between the two senior clubs there yesterday on the county panel. You seen it was played almost like an inter-county standard. But just even that, the crowds that were down there, the atmosphere that was there for all three games, you just see the standard rising across the board. And look, you had Four Masters, I suppose, that won the junior title yesterday. That's another club getting a title that hadn't really won it in a while. So Donegal hurling's in a really strong place, and hopefully it continues to grow.
Yeah. And Dara, just on that first game, the junior title, Four Masters beating St Eunan's, a brilliant first half, laying the foundations for that victory. I was just thinking about Four Masters, as Sean was saying, that spread of hurling. You look at it's been dominated by a few teams, but it's great to see a side, Four Masters, in that area coming up and taking a title and obviously making strides at hurling.
Yeah, and just to add what Sean said there, even from that first game, the crowd in O'Donnell Park for Four Masters against St Eunan's was brilliant. It was great to see. But yeah, I was speaking to Shane McNulty, one of the joint captains for Four Masters, after the game. He was saying that they've boys from Ardagh, Killybegs, Four Masters, obviously, Dunkley. I think there might be about 5 different GA clubs represented with Four Masters there, and it's great to see. I think it was their first final in 19 years as well, so it's good that is happening. Obviously, you have the likes of Derry down there as well, and Ballyshannon, and then of course the Inishowen teams, 3 of them in finals at the weekend. It shows it's just not coming from the 2 clubs as well.
Yeah, indeed. And on that game, Dara, obviously the Four Masters building a big lead. In a final, it's never going to be comfortable. Eunan's did make a game of it. Second half, they come back into it, but particularly in the form that Quinn was up and full forward, it was going to be hard to get past him when he was playing that well.
Yeah, and just, I mean, he was lethal with his free takings every time he got a chance to put one over. It was, nearly guaranteed. Even most of them were from outside his own 65 as well. And a lot of them were to the side of the pitch as well. Just everything he touched just flew over the bar. It was some going from him, and gave Humans a lot to have to do in the second half. Like Gavin Joe did a great game, and a couple of other lads in that Humans team, but they couldn't claw back because he put them in such a happy lead at half time.
Yeah, indeed. Sound quality's just a wee bit poor there, Dara. We'll try and pump you up a wee bit here, maybe from this side. Hey, Joe Dex is here as ever, producing, keeping me right. Hey, he'll work some magic here in the background. Sean, just on it, you always, every time I see a club doing well, I automatically think county. Then, is it a huge jump for someone like Four Masters to be able to be in the mix of trying to get into a county squad? Would that be a massive thing for them in terms of producing somebody that could get in to just, I suppose, inspire the next generation along with winning that title?
I don't think so, Brendan, to be honest. I mean, we've seen a number of players from Donegal come up to the county squad over the last number of years and really push and get starting game time. So I don't think it's a massive jump, and I think that really should be the goal of all those clubs and even like county setups, to bring these lads into the setup to see the standards, to get used to the pace of the hurling at that level, because all that'll happen is then they'll bring it back to the clubs, and then hopefully that filters down in through their systems as well. So it's vitally important that these teams, when they're producing, that they get the opportunity. And as I say, a rising tide raises all boats. Like, so, as much a helping hand as we can give them, it should be done.
Yeah, indeed. Well done to all Four Masters. And I think you always have that interesting scenario with your dinner dance. Obviously, there's so much silverware going to Four Masters at the minute. Now you have a full squad of hurlers coming up to get their award. I always think things that get are very, very special, and they just change, I suppose, the dynamic of the club as well, that there's so much happening there. The intermediate final, Buncrana obviously dropping down, Carndonna last year's champions, and he shown Derby again, a highly contested game. There's never a lot in it, a couple of purple patches from both teams, but Buncrana in the end, probably that wee bit extra class and finishing power in particular, Dara.
Yeah, they just seemed to kick on in the second half a lot. Like, Karen put it up brilliantly to them for the whole game, and Karen team, I remember speaking to some of the men on that team, and they're saying just how young their guys. And I mean, they've shown, like, they got to their first final last year in the intermediate and beating Quins, and then they're looking likely to win it again at the half time in this one, but Buncrana did step it up, and they've got a couple of those county men with Jack O'Loughlin from that team. And they really did kick on, and that's what they did deserve to win it in the end.
Yeah. Sean, just on that, 7-6 at half time, Buncrana taking over in that period. A bit like the senior final in terms of that purple patch that Burt had, particularly at the start, which again laid a bit of platform to that. But just in this game, did you feel it looked at times that Carndonna should have maybe got an equaliser before that second score that pushed Buncrana out? There was opportunities there. So I remember about 10 minutes in the second half, there was a brilliant goal opportunity for Karen, was blazed over the bar. Do you think then at times, you got to go for it? Goals that there's periods of the game where, particularly in a final, you have to go it. You seen the goals was the difference in the senior final. It would have been huge in that intermediate.
I think so. I think for Karen to win that game, they really needed to hit the net, particularly in that second half. I think they were struggling to get a consistent, amount of scores the whole way through the game. So I think they really needed to hit the net to get themselves over the line. But I suppose from Buncrana's point of view, they show great character, because they would have been big favourites going into this game. And, when the pressure was really on, Carndonna coming at them, they really stood up and got over the line. And for them, that's huge. I think Buncrana probably needed this one more than Carndonna. I think it would have been a really tough one for them to take if Carndonna had to beat them in this game. So delighted for the likes of Jack and Oisin Grant, and as I say, all the lads down there who really deserve some silverware for all of the efforts they've put in over the last number of years. Like, Buncrana have been a really top side, and should probably be pushing to compete in senior finals, never mind intermediate finals. So that was a very important one for them there at the weekend. Yeah,
and Grant, of course, nephew of the Grants, was involved with Burt. So yeah, that's where the bloodline goes. The Grants will always produce the hurlers, I'll tell you. Just on the intermediate game, Dara, after the goal that Karen did get at the start of the second half, it put them 4 up. They were outscored 9-3 by Buncrana, and were we seeing shades, I suppose, of that senior experience that a lot of those players had maybe coming to the fore at that point when the game needed to be won? Buncrana found the range with some great scores.
Yeah, and I think like it probably don't know if it was nerves or anything because they had the experience from last year, but Karen did they did have a number of chances to end up getting back into that game and getting level a couple of times. I know they had a couple late chances coming into added time that they probably should have been level, and it was ones that they would have put over in the first half. I would have said. I don't know what just happened to them, but yeah, the experience came through for Montana anyway. Like they showed that I suppose they've been trying to compete, as Sean was saying, with those the so-called big three, I suppose, and this is probably one of the first times they've had to dig it out and being able to dig it out in one of these games, and they deserve to win it. Yeah.
Hey, and Sean, just on that victory for Buncrana, where does that leave them now in terms of, we want obviously as many teams playing senior and being competitive as possible. Could this be something that benefits them in terms of, right, they've won a title? It was more realistic for them, obviously, to win a title like this here. It's a big town. There was a lot of work being done there. Are you seeing enough, young players and youth coming through for Buncrana that they could come up and challenge for a senior again? Is that possible?
I think that has to be their goal, especially after getting this bit of silverware. Like when you look back even to the league this year, albeit a lot of the league was played without county players, like the Buncrana were really strong and took a lot of big wins in that there. And look, they've been trying to drive on for a number of years to make the breakthrough into that county final. And I suppose a lot of the way it's kind of felt for them in those semi-finals as they're up against Setanta a lot of those times, who really caught them on, when they're really going well, and at times, really made it difficult for Setanta, but never really managed to get enough to get over the line against them. So their goal now has to be to drive on and to try and make a county final and further beyond that, to be honest. Like they've had enough young players coming through over the last number of years, and there seems to be more coming through when you look through their underage setups at the minute. So that has to be their goal, is to push on from here and really use this intermediate title as a stepping stone.
Yeah, hopefully. And listen, that's one for another day. Fair play to all at Buncrana. And as I say, at Four Masters, I hope you had a good night last night. Well deserved. The senior final, 40th title. The Birdmen upset all the odds. They're completely written off. Ulster champions and county champions Setanta, all conquering Setanta. There didn't seem a lot of hope. Maybe no one outside of Burt gave them much of a chance. People were saying maybe if this went right, that went right. And even then, it seemed like a stretch. But, even down to 14 men, unbelievable stuff by them there to come through. I mean, it was a brilliant occasion. As Sean was saying, it was such a high level of hurling going on out there. It was a fantastic day.
Yeah, and it was a brilliant final. I mean, just as you say, like it was probably expected that Santa were going to win it, and even there the first 15 minutes, like Burt were 7 going up, I think, after 13, 14 minutes, and Santa really got going then. They had the ball in the net through Josh Connolly, and it was brought back for a free. I think the ref didn't give advantage, and I think that kind of maybe affected them a wee bit. But then they did get the goal, and just every time they tried to get back into the game, Burt just seemed to get another goal themselves. I suppose maybe there was, I don't know if you'd say there was a bit of fortune in the first one, just the long ball in, but I suppose you need that in the final sometimes. We put out the 14 men, and I think it went to 2 points in it, but they just battled back again. You got another, like the third goal was brilliant, and brilliant play from them. Darragh did fantastic for that goal, and just, I mean, when they went down to 14, they looked more likely to win it at that point. It was just crazy how they rallied, and fully deserving, as you say.
Yeah. It took some heart, Sean, just tactically in the game, Sean. 7-1, as Darragh was saying. Burt came out and they had to do that. They had to breeze, they had to go after. Sean, particularly in hurling, you Catholic football, we see people sitting back waiting. You got to go for the game, and they did go for it. Now, after that, you seen a bit of control from Setanta. They were very imposing. They went after, the Burt puck out. They had really Burt camped in, and you thought that they were going to really turn the screw on it. So there was a lot of courage showed by Burt in there. A lot of lads, as they were saying after we interviewed them, that's their first championship win. So there was a lot at stake here for this young team, but they seemed to revel in that pressure that came on them.
100%. And me and you were chatting last week, Brendan, and we were saying, right, what are Burt going to do? And I was thinking they were definitely going to bring a man back and play a sweeper role, but they went man on man, just went toe to toe with Setanta. All right, albeit most of the men, the half forward line in particular, worked their way back and worked their socks off and can bend back on top of the midfield and half forward line, with the full forward line chasing back out after it. But really brave from the Burt management. They just decided, right, we're going to go toe to toe with Setanta, got their matchups in defence spot on, you know. Albeit when the first ball was thrown in, the ball went inside to Jerry Gilmore, and two of the Burt defenders got mixed up, and Jerry got a handy enough score, and you're thinking, okay, right, is this going to be a long day for the Burt defence? But straight away got the grips of it, and you know, Derek Grant tipped a long range point, and like really the whole platform in that first quarter I thought was off puck outs, as you said. Kevin Campbell was going long with most of them looking direct for Danny Cullen, but Stephen Gillespie was just going up behind him, getting that ball to the ground, and the Birdmen were in underneath his feet. And from there, they just kind of hit to the wings, you know. And the two McKinneys got a couple of great scores. You had Brady in there getting scored. I think Keelan McDermott got one. Like so, like in that period, Burt were really, really clinical. With all of their chances, all their shooting, even from angles out in the wing. I was like, it was really, really impressive, and the work rate out of that forward line in particular was massive.
John, just on that, you know, Kevin Campbell's obviously a brilliant player, ex-teammate of yours. He's filling the role in there, and he's brilliant at in terms of setting up the attack and linking up the defence and starting off attacks from deep. That high ball comes in. It's hard for somebody just to become a goalkeeper. Do you think it's something that can happen you because maybe your spatial awareness, because you know it's a very defined position, and a high ball can come in. Maybe you could lose track of it because you know he's really an outfield player playing in nets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose when you're looking, that's another thing we spoke about last week is how Kevin Campbell's added another layer to the Stamta game from just, you know, getting on the ball and starting attacks. But I suppose the flip side of that is just what you described there. It's hard to learn that position from, you know, a stopping or high balls coming in around the square. And I think that's probably, you know, I think Burt would probably have said, right, you know, we'll lob a couple in here and test that out. And it was a very awkward ball that went in. It was coming in around the 6 yard box, and then Kevin probably got caught in between two minds, you know, to stay on the line or to come out. And if he's coming out, he probably has to take ball, man, and everything with him, and probably just get stuck in between. And obviously, the ball landed in the net, and that was the score that really settled Burt, because I think Setanta were starting to come back to them at that point. They were 7-1 up. I think it was back to about 7-5, and then that goal pushed that out again. It was really a massive point for Burt to drive on towards half time.
Yes, indeed, it was huge moment in the game. There, just a performance. You know, you mentioned Dara Grant's goal. You know, McKinney's performance. Dara, you know, as we were saying, and myself and Sean talking last week about the things would have to go right for Burt. You need all your main men stepping up, which they did, and their conversion rate was unreal. And McKinney's goal and his points. You know, he was really. I mean, particularly that one deep in the game, way out in the left. He was nearly at the halfway line. I mean, it was an absolute monster of a point. You know, talk about a man leading the line, thoroughly deserved his man of the match.
Yeah, I think most people would agree it was one of the easiest man of the matches you could ever have to pick. It's like he's just phenomenal, like in his free taking was brilliant. Even the goal as well, like just he got him in the right position. Team effort first, but it was blocked, and he used everything to get in there and bumbled over the line. Just everything he did just seemed to work well. Like I suppose like with the score, the likes of the county boys like Rowan McDermott, I think he got 1 point maybe, and or maybe he didn't get any, and Conor Garland got one. But like when you had somebody that needed to step up, McKinney did it, and those other two boys did brilliantly outside of that. But just the scoring power of McKinney was brilliant, and then was on the flip side was Setanta. I think they registered about 11 wides. They still had 19 scores on the board, so they'll probably be kicking themselves a wee bit that they might feel they left it behind, especially when they had man advantage and everything. But yeah, just McKinney was brilliant, and just hopefully he can keep that going into the county season next year now, and into the intermediate championship too, of course.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, you'll be open about that. Sean, just on that, you know, the 11 wides, there's obviously a couple of situations where potential goals and, you know, frees pulled back. I think there was one or two half chances again that we spoke about a bit, like the one for Karen Donna, that there maybe was a goal on, there was a point taken. You know, all those things, you know, seemed to go against Setanta on the day. You know, it never seemed like they got into their full groove in the game. Was that down to something that can happen, or was that down to Bird?
I think it was probably a bit of both, to be honest. I think Burt, what they brought and the intensity and the hunger didn't allow Setanta to settle. And then when you're hitting those wides, you know, you really struggle for momentum. And there was a couple of wides in that early period, you know, when Burt were really on top that Setanta had, and they couldn't really get the grips of it. I think they had a goal chance at one point as well, which I think it might have been Dean Harvey through and went over the bar. Those kind of things, you know, in the last couple of years, Setanta have been burying, and you know, we give them a sniff at all in the net, and it's in, you know. And saying that, Josh McGee got a brilliant goal, finished it one-handed as well. So, and then I suppose straight away after that, there Burt went down and Liam McKinney went through and looked like he was about to bury the ball, and then only for Steve McBride to come out of nowhere and make an absolutely brilliant last-ditch tackle, and then the ball was still scrambled over the line. So I think those things are massive when it comes down to it. I think even the last 5-10 minutes when the game was really in the melting pot, Burt had that 2-3 point lead. You seen, as you mentioned, Liam McKinney stuck an absolute monster point from the far sideline from his own 65. And that was the difference. And Setanta missed a couple on the other end. They had one of the younger players was coming out with the ball and give away a charge and free. And those little small details, I think, when it was going down the stretch, showed, and that was the difference in Burt getting over the line.
And Sean, just a word on Dara's goal. You know, the sending off, you were thinking then, right, this is it now, that it's going to turn against Burt. You know, Setanta are going to use their experience and control it. But Dara Grant's goal, you know, and his performance overall, and again, you know, a midfielder, you know, he's probably was the smallest man on the pitch, but he had some heart, and I thought that goal really typified, you know, his performance in the game as well. And that goal was the, I suppose, give them that thing then to sit and to, you know, be more comfortable in the game. It kind of gave them something to really fight for, Sean, that they knew down to a man they're probably going to concede more opportunities, but there was a 3-pointer. It's going to give us that bit of strength on the scoreboard to defend.
100%. And it's funny, so when I was leaving, one of the lads actually said to me, who would your man of the match be? And I said Dara Grant. I thought he was brilliant from the start. He's got the first point in the day to settle him, and then when they needed that goal at the end, it was brilliantly worked. And I think there was a theme the whole way throughout that second half, in particular with Burnsy's puck outs. You know, there's about 4 or 5 that Conor Gartland got off out to the wing, you know, really massive ball winner for them in that second half. This was the same down the opposite wing, and I think it was young Aidan McKinney got it pulled on down to Ryan Porter, who was out in front of his man and slipped a perfect ball. We gambled on to net, which was a brilliant one. I think that really made the Burt lads believe what they were doing. I think for the last 10 minutes then it was for them to drive on, you know.
So somebody's coming across here. Somebody's trying to come in on top of us there. Somebody must want to make a point. Hey, we have a couple of our next guests lining up there. If you can hear me here, lads, switch your mics off. We're not finished yet. We're almost there. We're getting foreign stations button on, lads. Hey, I got to just ask you, families down there, you know, you look at it particularly, you know, Enda McDermott and the association with the McDermotts and Hurling there, you know, Marty McGrath, obviously their manager, you know, taking these lads from underage through, you know, we mentioned obviously Dara there, his brother Fergal involved. In fact, their dad actually took me down hurling to Burt when I was a young fella, seen me out playing in the garden in Newton, so I've even been down there at times. But listen, there's such a history there, and it's coming through again there. You know, you're never going to keep Burt down too long in terms of, you know, being a second place team now. Not to say obviously Setanta will be back next year, but there's certainly a serious team building there again.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the under-21 final. I think it was just around Christmas time last year, maybe in January, and Burt won that as well. And I mean, even at that point, you still had Liam McKinney and Conor Gartland, and there was a couple other boys that played the last day that were in that team. And just, yeah, I suppose from speaking to a couple of them during the last week, they were kind of saying that they needed this sort of generation to be coming up, and it's kind of come at a perfect time, because I think they do have a bit of a gap there between maybe the 25 to 30 years old. There's not too many in that bracket, and it's coming through the perfect time for them now, because these lads have stepped up for them like tenfold, and because they've got them back to where they've wanted to be now.
Yeah. They're back as champs, is right. Well, listen, lads, great roundup. I love your backdrops, by the way. Dara here, for anybody just listening to radio, has a Celtic scarf behind him after poor Rangers got done again yesterday. Sorry about that. On the Celts. And Sean, your weights backdrop, I got to find out where you got that. Is that the company you work with there, Sean?
That's Precision Sports Tech, so I'm sitting on the work laptop here at the minute. So
that's it. Free advertising in Highland now for anybody seeing that.
No, any opportunity going, Brendan.
Right, yeah, my man. Glad to have you on. You mentioned it, surely. Listen, Sean McVeigh and Dara Bonner, thanks for rounding up them hurling finals from the weekend. I'll be speaking to you again, lads.
Thanks, Brendan.
Cheers, man. Coming up after the break, the one and only John Gildea will be on the show to talk about the fourth round draw of the Senior Football Championship.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
We love better value at Dunnes Stores. Choose from a fantastic selection of wine and champagne, like 19 Crimes and Whispering Angel, now 20% off. Try our new Meals to Go range with dishes like butter chicken and pilau rice, or Irish beef ragu and conchiglia pasta, 2 for €8.50. Plus, you can save at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
The thing about hearing difficulties is you can still get the rough gist of most conversations. You know, just about. You might miss some great jokes. The one about the rabbit and the scarf. Like that one. But you'll get a vague idea. And that's okay, isn't it? Not for us, it's not. At Specsavers, we think OK hearing isn't OK. So book a free hearing check with one of our hearing experts today and be part of the conversation. Specsavers. OK hearing is not OK.
You're pathetic. Everything about you is an embarrassment. If you leave, you'll never see the kids again. Who'd believe you anyway? That's what abusers tell us. But it's all lies. You deserve to be safe. And when you ask for help, you will be heard.
If you're living with domestic or sexual violence, support is always here. Visit alwayshere.ie or call an Garda Síochána.
Brought to you by the Government of Ireland. SSE Airtricity harnesses our greatest natural resource, providing cleaner, renewable energy for homes and businesses across the country. While we all want a greener tomorrow, we also want to save on our energy bills today. With our recent price reductions, you can do both. Right now, we're offering a range of highly competitive energy plans. Switch now and you could save with one of our great introductory offers. To see our very best offers, go direct to sscairtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. Since January 2024, we've decreased our domestic electricity variable rates by 22.8% and gas variable rates by 21.5%. For more information, visit sscairtricity.com.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Is that us back in? Good man, the thumbs is up there. Joe's telling me that was a jingle coming there. We're back in. The time is 32. It's 19:32 here on our 24-hour clock. Always sounds weird saying that. Now we're going to talk Senior Club Championship with John Gildea. John, are you there?
Hi, Bren. How are you?
John, not too bad, my man. You?
Good. No problems.
You've been rattling that bike in the Mount Errigal there. You're working up a sweat every time I see you.
It wasn't the bike that was rattling, Bren. It was me.
The knee joints was going.
I would like to say it was the bike, but unfortunately, no. Any rattling that's done is actually my dear old bones at this stage.
Well, listen, I know you've taken a lot of bangs, but my God, you give a lot of them as well. So I mean, it's probably fair enough. There's probably a lot of boys out there with rattling because of the bangs you give them.
If I was doing it again, Bren, and I advise anybody who's playing senior football, it's much easier to go around people than through people, and I'm suffering for that now.
I get you, lad. I get you, John. Listen, the draw was made for the fourth round of the club championship for heading in there. Potential relegation, of course, pre-quarterfinals or the top four, we say, go in to the automatic spots there in the quarters. We have Dunloe, St Knolls, Neve Connolly, Rua, Killybegs, Glenfin, Down in St Eunan's, Kilcar taking Cloughoneely, Glenswilly playing McCool's, Ardra playing Four Masters, and Gweedore playing St Michael's. So, John, basically, I suppose I was texting you earlier today, just come on for a chat about it. We're looking, for me, the most interesting ties in there. Of course, we have two teams on 6, Glenswilly and St Michael's. So Glenswilly at home to McCool's, Gweedore at home to St Michael's would be my interesting two from the upper side of the table, and then I think Killybegs, Glenfin down the lower side is interesting, John. But we'll start with Gweedore and St Michael's first, John. Listen, St Michael's having a brilliant season so far, as I say, maximum points. And Gweedore, after their opening round defeat to Four Masters, have come back strong.
Yeah, and I suppose, that's, you mentioned the two big ties to determine whether Glenswilly and St Michael's will keep their 100% record and go on 8 points and automatically qualify for the quarterfinals. I did Gweedore a huge disservice the last time I was on with you, and I said that I expected St Eunan's to really put a big score on them because, after the result against Neve Connell, I thought St Eunan's were going really, really well, and I couldn't see any of the result. And Gweedore proved me completely wrong. They came up to O'Donnell Park and really set their stall out and put in a really, really big performance. You know, and put themselves right back in the conversation as regards championship again. St Michael's have been going great. I would suggest maybe, unlike maybe St Eunan's and Kilcar, Neve Conlon, Gidor, they've avoided what would be classified as the big guns so far. Last week was a big game for them against Dunlow, and they came out the right side of it. So it'll be very interesting. Down in Marygallon, Gidor will be expecting, that they'll turn St Michael's over, but St Michael's will be going down there with no fear, and obviously it's a big local derby as well. So all to play for down there. Big permutations as regards both sides. I suspect, that you could end up with St Michael's on 8 points, or you could end up with St Michael's along with Gidor on 6 points, along with a host of other teams. So it's going to lend itself to a very exciting last round of the championship. And I know people are, talking about the championship, and there's nearly every team goes through to some form of quarterfinal or a preliminary at the end of it. But there's a lot of big games down for decision to determine the pecking order, both the top end and at the bottom end.
Indeed, John, of course, yeah. And of course, as you're saying there, 16 teams, so top 4 are automatically into the quarterfinals. The next 8 play off in a prelim to get into that quarterfinals, and then the bottom 4 play each other off in like a semi-final and a final to see who drops down to the championship. And as you're saying there, along with St Michael's, Glenswilly have had a brilliant season so far. And again, another rising power, McCool's. I know the last day out, John missing forward players, and that's vital. Obviously, you have your main men in the team, and obviously, in many ways, Sara one side, Michael Murphy on the other. If he's good to go, that's what it's all about, John. You need your key men in these games, but it's certainly set up for a fascinating encounter between Glenswilly and McCool's.
Yeah, and I suppose looking at McCool's, I went to the McCool's Neve Conlon game last weekend, or the weekend before last, and I was, ultimately, I was disappointed in McCool's because they were in the game for up until half time. They missed a lot of chances. If Joel Bradley Walsh and Farah were playing, you would suspect that they would have been really in the hunt. And then yourself what happens. A goal goes in, and you go from 3 points down to 6 points down, and the game runs away from you. And there's no better team than Neve Conlon driving the nail home. So they will be disappointed with that performance. They'll need everybody they can possibly get back for that Glenswilly game, because ultimately, Glenswilly are going well. Glenswilly are at home. They had a big result against Four Masters. They were basically 7 points down and managed to turn it around. Michael Murphy's doing what Michael Murphy has done for the last 15 years. And he's a menace and a danger around the edge of the square, and he's proven that in every championship game so far. Maybe, they've coasted through to a certain extent. They've missed a lot of the bigger, so-called bigger teams in the championship. So this should be a better test for them, but it will be very much dependent on what side that McCool's can put out, because ultimately, if they don't have their big guns playing, Glenswilly probably will have too much for them, and then they'll go through to as 8 points and straight through to the quarterfinal. But Glenswilly are building a lot of good young players, mixed in with some of the older lads, Copper and Michael, and they're growing. Those young under 21 and minor teams coming through, so they'll fancy themselves. And then obviously with Gary McDade at the helm, they'll not fear anybody. So they're definitely a team to watch going forward in the championship. They'll fancy their chances against anybody.
Yes, indeed. So Glenswilly on 6 and Michael's on 6. After that, you have Four Masters, St Eunan's, Neve Conlon, Kilcar, Dunlow, Gidor and McCool's. Now, of them, most of them probably from the fixtures would be expected to get to 6. McCool's, I suppose, at the end, that's the interesting one there with Glenswilly. So, with so many teams potentially in that zone, around the 6 point mark there, John, it's going to come down to scoring averages, So if teams are getting the better sides, they're going to have to push on at the weekend and try and see if they can make it straight into that quarter-final berth.
Yeah, and ultimately that's what makes it exciting. You could look at the St Michael's situation where they're second in the table, and if a result doesn't go their way, their scoring difference is not huge. Like, it's only plus 15, whereas if you look at Neve Conlon, who are 2 points behind, assuming they beat Avery, they're plus 27 and going on from there. You have Four Masters on plus 17, and you have St Eunan's on plus 14. So, St Eunan's have a away tie against Downings. I would imagine they'll be aiming at trying to put up a big score there. With all due respect to Downings, there's a difference in class at this point in time. So there's going to be a lot of calculators out by the end of the day on Sunday to figure out who's where. And then also that's going to leave, one or two of the so-called big guns potentially in the preliminary quarterfinals. And then that's going to lead to very, very exciting quarterfinals, because you could have a situation where one or two of the big guns are meeting in the quarterfinal and it opens up completely. And by the flip side of that, you could have a situation where Glenswally top the table, they may draw one of the big guns in the quarterfinal, and that puts them under real pressure. So all sorts of permutations going into the weekend, but it lends itself to a very exciting weekend. You would expect, the way the fixtures are set, Glenswally will fancy their chances, Gildea will fancy their chances, Naomh Conaill at home will fancy their chances, obviously St. Eunan's will fancy their chances. Then you get to the nitty gritty on the lower side of the equation, where Ardra are playing for Masters again, a local derby. Killybegs, Glenfillan, a huge game for both those teams.
Yep.
And Dunlow, St. Noel's, Dunlow would fancy their chances to go through into the quarterfinals outright, or preliminary quarterfinals at the very least. And then Kilcara will obviously fancy their chances against Cloughaneely, who've yet to get any points on the board. So some very big fixtures, some interesting games. And result-wise, as I said, it'll be interesting on Sunday evening to see who's where at the end of it all.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, John. Listen, I agree. Yeah, I think that Killybegs one, but obviously they beat St. Noel's at the weekend in a rearranged fixture, and now, as you're saying, they have that home tie with Glenfillan that aren't going too well. They're still to get off the mark, along with Cloughaneely and St. Noel's. So Killybegs on 2 are Ardra, Arua and Downing. So they'll be looking to avoid getting pulled into that 4-team relegation playoff as well, and stabilise in the senior championship. So as you're saying, John, a lot to play for, looking forward to it. Now I seem to be whizzing around all the grounds, keeping everybody updated over the weekend, John, so we look forward to that, and myself and yourself will speak more about the championship when we get into the knockout stages. All right, sir?
All right, no problem. Have a good one, Brendan.
Top man, John Gildea there. Of course, Steve Conlon, Donegal star, legend that he was indeed, and always great to have him on the show. And now the final segment, last but by no means least, the one and only Michael McMullan is coming on. Every time he's on, he educates us all, and we're going to talk Derry and Tyrone management, and also the monument management's up for grabs now as well. Who wants it? Who's mad enough to take it? He's also going to give us a few words on the Derry club scene as well. We're going to speak to him after the break.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
People all over Ireland have smart meters, just like Niall.
After mine was installed, I signed up for a free ESB Networks online account. Anyone can, regardless of who their supplier is. Now I actually understand how I'm using my electricity. This has helped me pick a tariff that's right for me.
Niall's home is just like the other 1.8 million homes in Ireland that have a smart meter. Start seeing how your smart meter can work for you and sign up for your free online account at esbnetworks.ie. Join us to deliver a smarter, cleaner electric future. ESB Networks, energising your everything.
Hey, what do you think? The National Planning Framework is being revised, and this is your chance to join the conversation. The National Planning Framework is the overarching policy and planning strategy for Ireland's social, economic and cultural development. You can share your opinions and suggestions on the revisions by post or through our online consultation portal. For all the information you need, visit npf.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
FBD doesn't stand for frightening lad dentists, ferociously beating drums, or feline business directors. FBD stands for support. We support business owners in Ireland with tailor-made services from personally assigned advisors. Visit your local branch to talk to your FBD insurance team. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The DL Debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, welcome back. Now we have Michael McMullan on the magic of Zoom. I can see here. Now, that's a great backdrop now. Headquarters, I like it. Michael, how's things?
All's good, Brenton.
Oh.
Just trying to keep in tune with Croke Park. We make you back there someday, so we'll see.
Oh, listen, hey, I would very much think that's a possibility. Yeah. Maybe you wouldn't really want a league final, though. You're on a championship, right?
League finals, don't mention the war. Us and Mayo,
sorry, I shouldn't have
said
said
the same, Brenton.
I shouldn't have mentioned that. Listen, on about getting back there. Where's it at here, Michael? Obviously, we're hearing the rumours. Have you ever seen anything like WhatsApp rumours about this Derry squad and everything that goes with it, management, etc.? But after Mickey Hart 1 year out of 3, he's gone. We're hearing different things about a possible return for Rory Gallagher, Ryan McCluskey, our own Mark McHugh was mentioned in it as well, and of course Malachy O'Rourke gets mentioned by everything. Conleith Gilligan. Is there any update on all this stuff that's going on, Mal, or is it hard to tell?
There's actually nothing, Brenton, and that's probably the most worrying thing. And it used to be the most talked about thing in Ireland was the weather, but now before anybody talks about the weather, they say, well, what about the manager? And that's the way it is at the moment. It's all unknown. I suppose the two names, you mentioned them there, Rory Gallagher, obviously heavily linked with a return, and then Malachy O'Rourke. And as Ceathair O'Kane had sort of reported last week I think it was, that he allowed Errol O'Kane to let his name go forward for the Tyrone vacancy. So
yeah,
it's hard to see him not throwing his hat in there. And you'd imagine it'd be very difficult for Tyrone not to welcome them unless there's other proposals. But surely he would be the man they're looking for. And then obviously a lot of talk about Rory Gallagher, but very much mixed feelings in the county about about him coming back or not. So it's really stalemate, Brenton. It really is. And as a Derry man, you're sort of thinking back to, I remember Martin McHugh having a conversation. It was a fairly passionate conversation with Oisín after Donegal got the hammer last year about they were in a bad place. And do you know what? Derry's probably in that similar place now. When Donegal were in that place last year, Brendan, not all the players had committed and there was injuries and different things. But in Derry, we certainly have a decent group of players. But the unfortunate thing is we don't have a manager. And to add to that, Brendan, it's not as if you're trying to build for 2 or 3 years' time. I think what Armagh have proven is that this year and next year, there's 6 or 7 teams who feel if they put their hand up, get a decent run of 3 or 4 games of good form, that they can win the big boy.
Yeah.
And Derry are in that conversation. And that's why, and like when I'm going around club grounds at games or bumping into people at the shop, there's just that frustration of we need this sorted and we need it sorted now.
Mm.
And that's where it is, Brenton. There's no real developments other than, I suppose, the lazy rumours. But
yeah.
A well-founded source told me that there's going to be no word for a while. That's what I'm hearing. No word for a while.
There you go. There's an Irish statement now. No word for a while. Just leave it at that. Do you know what, man? I was just thinking, is the way Rory Gallagher took the team. He took them Division 3. He was able to mould them, and they became such a force in his complete shaping of them. You took Mickey Hart coming in there trying to get up the range. I know Mina had it in that in-between phase and probably just kept parity. But is it a very different proposition now that type of man that come in there just to take over and take control? There's very few of those type players out there. Obviously, Malachy O'Rourke automatically you would think is one, but it looks like he's going to go to the Tyrone job. Is it a thing where you would nearly need to create a management team? We spoke about Conleith, likes of, Ronan Devlin's doing well up with Carrigan there back to back. I know Michael Lairn was in before, the 2 successful minor stints. Now, do you think it's possible, if you look at the Armagh template around the management team that they build, is it something like that Derry would need really? Because that one man that's going to come in and just be the man, is there such a thing out there now, Mel? It's going to take such an effort. Would it take a lot of good minds together to really, I suppose, get the belief back in this Derry squad? Because once they've been at that top level, everything must at least get to there, I think, to get them back on the right track.
That's it. Like, I watched the All-Ireland semi-final loss to Kerry very narrowly, and it was like watching bullseye, and here's what you could have won.
Yeah.
Like, they were so close. And you talked about Rory. Like, Rory came in, was absolutely fantastic. And literally grabbed the thing by the scruff of the neck and pulled it up and got all the people in the right places and got Derry believing, and it was brilliant. But those people are hard to find. Like there's not many Jim McGuinnesses or Kieran McGeeney's about, or obviously Jim Gavin, people in their own county. And I think Derry's at the stage now where they're at the stab in the dark position, and you hit the nail on the head there. Funny, me and a friend of mine, we go walking on a Monday, and the last couple of walks we've come up with the same management team, Mickey Moran and Conleth Gilligan, and whatever few men they feel they need to, to do the various jobs, strength and conditioning, goalkeeping coach, whatever. But that's probably where Derry need to go to now.
Is Mickey Moran an option?
Those two men would be interested, but that's where they need to go.
I've been talking to Mickey a bit lately, actually, and he's as you know, one of the best people you could meet. In the game, it was a pleasure playing under. Do you think it's something at this time that would interest him? I just think there's big demands on it now in terms of going back in there. It certainly would be a management team. I think as a Derry player, I would love to see.
I think that's what our discussion was on our Monday night walking brainstorming sessions. But it was like, Mickey's there, he's experienced, he's got a track record, he's won an All-Ireland club. Conleth Gilligan, similar, and been involved. Obviously, Armagh people would shoot me at this stage, but, from an Armagh point of view, he went in there and he was a modern thinker in the middle of it as well, and then building the people around him, because even what they did in Armagh, they put the various pieces in around them, like in Donegal, Luke Bart came in, he's got a role. Colin Anthony's got a role. That's the way it needs to go. And, I think that's where Derry's going to have to go, because you could go to a stab in the dark, somebody from another county that doesn't really know anything about Derry.
Yes.
But, it's a real worry, Brenton. I have to admit, as a Derry man, I'm worried, because we've got a group of players that can challenge, and it needs to be sorted sooner rather than later for me.
Yeah. The next management is huge. I think the next appointment. Switching our attention across to Tyrone, well, obviously, the lads, had a 3-year term there. They've stepped down. Fergal obviously had a bit of health scare himself, and Doer stepped down. So that void there, again, no more than Derry, serious underage talent, 2 under-20s his last 3 seasons, and really, obviously always producing a high level of footballer. And they're kind of sitting now. You're just thinking that it looks like, when you look at it, it could be a perfect fit for Malachy. You mentioned there the fact, obviously, he's living in Ballygolly. He's Ergo Kieran club now. Would that be another factor and a plus for Tyrone? The fact that, listen, that's where he's set down the roots now, in terms of, you want to help out where you live, and it would be big for him to have success with Tyrone, living where he's living.
It would be, and like, he's played for Ergo, as far as I'm aware, he managed them as well, Brendan, I'm really sure. And like you said it there, like the under-20 success recently, but even they'd won, in the last decade, they've won 3 of them, and that first one, a core of them came through to win Sam in 2021, and they're always the team, as you know, in Donegal as well, and same in Derry. Tyrone, where the underage super power to catch, and then also their school structures are very, very good. And it's a massive county, Brenton. They've so many clubs, like Paul Donaghy. He's not even in the panel. Like, what would Donegal or Derry do for a Paul Donaghy up there? So they've so much to pick from, and Malachy will know that. And I think it would be a good fit for him. Definitely would be. And like, he just has to, I don't know, he's very, very close to Garvahe from the logistics of going to training point of view. And then I suppose it's a case of, does Ryan Porter come in with him? Who's his management team? But I think the Tyrone players would be over the moon if
definitely, yeah,
if Malachy stepped in. And I suppose a quick word on Brian Dooher and Fergal Logan, who have stepped away. I don't think they owe Tyrone anything from a playing point of view. They coached the under-20s. They won Sam. They were warriors, and I think Tyrone people owe them a lot of credit.
Yes, indeed. 2 fine men is right, and 2 busy men as well. They're both very, very successful in their work life as well. It's some time to put in now. Now, if you look at it, it's a full-time job, and obviously Malachy's retired now as well. So all those things look like they could be fitting into place. Now, listen, with a few minutes left, the Derry Championship, how's it heating up there? Slaughtneil and Glen we're always keeping an eye out for. You know, Newbridge coming good there as well, and Maherafelt. And is it going to come down to the big sides again this year? How's it looking? Mal just froze on us there. He's froze, you know. That can happen at Crow Park. You can freeze. That's what happened to him. Crow Park can do that to you, Joe. I'll say no, it might have happened to me a few times. You better watch what you say here. We just lost Mal. You're back, Mal. You're back, Mal. No, I was just saying about you've got a few Derry Championship games there. We're down to the last couple of minutes, Mal. How's it shaping up in there?
Yeah, it's quarterfinals. Sorry, there's 4 out of 6 go into the quarterfinals from each group, and nobody gets knocked out yet. Slaughtneil and Newbridge have won all their games. Maherafelt and Glen, who would be sort of front runners as well, obviously have only lost a game. Lavey, who have only won 1 game, have sort of impressed me by the way they've been playing. They've loads and loads of pace. And Glen, as they've done in the past few years, Brenton, they've always tamed the run well. I think outside of Cathal Mulholland, who is away travelling, I think everybody's available. Danny Talon didn't play last night against Swatra, but they've everybody back, and they have a title there to defend. 4 in a row's only been done 3 times, Balahi and Slaughtneil, so that's a massive target for them. And Slaughtneil themselves have been going pretty well under Mark Dorn. He has them in good shape with a few young lads freshening it up. So probably 5 teams in the mix, and probably Glen, Slaughtneil, Maherafelt, maybe the 3 out of the 5 that's well enough placed. But Newbridge, a lot of young talent as well. So group stages, Brenton, a wee bit like in Donegal, where you'll know yourself with unions being involved. There's a lot of playing, but you don't really know an awful lot just yet. So.
Well, listen, we're at the exact same phase. We're waiting for this knockout now. We're looking forward to it. I want to get a proper chat to you some evening about that. We're just running a wee bit low of time. We had the big hurling finals here at the weekend, so we had to give them their place on the show. Well, listen, as ever, great to talk to you. I'll be catching up with you later. You keep an eye on things. Chat to you soon. That's Michael McMullan there, as ever, from Gaelic Life, rounding up the scene in Tyrone and Derry. And of course, I want to thank all my guests this evening, Joe Dex for producing. I'll speak to you all next week.
At Screwfix, you can click and collect over 10,000 trade products in as little as 1 minute. So whether it's a power drill in Portlaoise or guttering in Galway, when you need it yesterday, just click at screwfix.ie and collect at your local store 7 days a week. T's and C's apply. Visit screwfix.ie for full details.
At ESB, we're investing over €1 billion a year to drive Ireland towards a net zero future. We're accelerating our investment in the EV charging network by rolling out over 100 high-powered charging hubs across the country, supporting the adoption of EVs in communities across Ireland and giving drivers the freedom to go further. Because we are, and always have been, invested in Ireland. Find out more at esb.ie.
Here's to the good stuff. The dip in the sea, the run after work, the catch up with friends, the come back to ours, the Kerrygold butter that spreads straight from the fridge for hot buttered toast or a build your own sandwich, the chat round the table, the sharing of plates, of news and of tales, and the taste that means everything. Kerrygold spreadable butter, straight from the fridge. Kerrygold. May your table always be full.
The effects of personal debt problems often go beyond just financial. What we don't want to face can cause us to unravel. Stress eats at you, relationships unwind. It can feel like life's falling apart, but support is available. Get back on track with the Insolvency Service of Ireland, an independent organisation that helps untangle personal debt problems. See backontrack.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
At 8, good evening, I'm Tina Gates. The Israeli Prime Minister has remained defiant in his determination to destroy Hamas in a press conference this evening. It comes after US President Joe Biden criticised Benjamin Netanyahu for not doing enough to secure a hostage deal. Mass protests and a general strike took place in Israel today, calling for a deal to be agreed with Hamas. Mr. Netanyahu says he will not bow to pressure.
I will not surrender to this pressure. I know how to withstand pressure, even greater pressures. And our people, our nation won't surrender to this pressure. Most of the people understand, and it doesn't matter what you see on the screens, on TV, it's not going to happen. We need to stand united.
334 drivers have been caught speeding so far on National Slow Down Day. Over 90,000 vehicles have been checked, and one driver was caught doing 123 kilometres per hour in a 100 kilometre zone on the N18 Balnacurra Weston in Limerick. The Joint Garda and RSA campaign's been put in place to raise awareness of the dangers of speeding, as the total number of deaths on Irish roads so far this year stands at 127. Chief Superintendent Jane Humphreys says speed plays a huge role in fatal crashes.
When you're in a collision, it's quite simple. The faster you're going in a collision, the greater the impact. So a change in speed, even only by 5 or 6 kilometres, can make the difference between you stopping successfully or you having a collision. If you are hit by a car at 50 kilometres per hour, your chance of survival is only 50%.
The Competition and Consumer Protection Commission says it has legitimate concerns around the buying experience of Oasis tickets at the weekend. It says it wants to ensure consumer protection law is followed. Oasis fans were unhappy on Saturday when so-called dynamic pricing pushed the cost of tickets over €400. Taoiseach Simon Harris described Ticketmaster as a monopoly and believes its policy should be investigated.
It is important that the monopoly held by one company is something that I think does deserve probing, and also the issue around surcharges and the likes. Now, I'm conscious of the CCPC's, they're independent in relation to their functions, but my colleague, the Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment, is making contact with them in relation to this.
Fiona bought tickets to Oasis for a high price yesterday and says she feels ripped off.
There was no reference to this type of pricing when I looked at the advertised prices before I went online. Honestly, I feel like a bit of a fool that I've gone on and bought 2 tickets that I thought with a name like Platinum was actually indicating something other than it was. And I think that's the angle that I'm coming at. It's, you have such a quick time to make a decision. They use a name like Platinum. You make that decision, you spend that money, but then you realise that actually it's not that at all.
The Taoiseach has criticised parts of Sinn Féin's housing proposals as miserly. Mary Lou MacDonald's party wants to reduce the value of the Help to Buy scheme over time. It also wants to sell houses to people without selling the land it's built on, which would remain in the ownership of the state. Simon Harris says that raises more questions than it answers.
We're going to have a house now that we think you own. You won't own the land on which it's built. And then when you go to sell the house, do you kind of need owner Bryn's permission? Who do you sell it? Who can I sell it to? How much can I sell it for? When can I sell it? I mean, this is a long way from the home ownership model that is ingrained in people in this country. And of course, all of that is if you can get a loan in the first place.
Enoch Burke's been arrested and brought to the High Court in Dublin. It's in relation to allegedly breaching an injunction. He was arrested at Wilson's Hospital School in Mullingar in County Westmeath this afternoon. And that's your latest news update at 8:04. Sport now and Paralympics. Deaton Registe was 6th in this evening's final of the men's 100-metre breaststroke SB14. The Dungannon swimmer touched the wall in 1 minute 7.82 seconds. A 10-second penalty cost Chloe McComb a top 5 finish in the PTVI triathlon. Along with guide Catherine Sands, they placed a 6th. Chloe's twin sister Judith, with guide Emer Nichols, came home 8th. Water quality in the Seine has seen the race pushed back by 24 hours, with Nichols saying Judith McComb had battled illness over the weekend.
I'm very proud of Judith after what she's been through this past 2 days. Whenever she was really sick the other night, we said a few prayers and we needed a miracle, and then at 4 o'clock in the morning we found out that the race had been postponed, and honestly, if it hadn't been, we definitely wouldn't have been here yesterday. We would have loved another day if it had been postponed an extra day, but we just had to do what we could on the day, and I'm just proud that she was able to get round today.
Cassie Cava was 12th in the PTS 4 triathlon. In Gaelic Games, Eamon O'Shea has been confirmed as part of Michael Donoghue's Galway Hurling backroom team. The Tipperary native worked under Henry Shefflin with the Tribesmen this year and has previously worked with Donoghue during O'Shea's stint as tip manager. Donoghue's return to the job will be ratified at tonight's Galway County Board meeting. To tennis, Wimbledon finalist Jasmine Paolini is the latest big name to suffer a US Open fourth round exit. The 7th seed was beaten in straight sets by Karolina Muchova. 6th seed Jessica Pegula beat Deanna Schneider in straight sets and could play Iga Swiatek in the last 8. The top seed faces 16th seed Ludmila Samsonova later tonight. Jack Draper is through to his first ever Grand Slam quarter-final following a straight sets win this evening over Thomas Makach. 5th seed Daniel Medvedev took the first set of his last 16 match with Nuna Borges 6-love. And later the men's top seed Yannick Sinner is playing Tommy Paul. That's your latest news and sport at 6 minutes past 8.
Broadcasting throughout the Northwest and across the world online. This is Highland Radio with Paul McDevitt.
6 minutes after 8 o'clock on a Monday night. You're welcome into the Monday night sessions with myself, Paul McDevitt, and Jimmy Stafford. And as always, we're with you right through until 10 p.m. tonight. We have a cracking show lined up for you. On the way very shortly from County Fermanagh is the Tully Music. And looking forward to a great sound of them now. If you've been driving up around the mountaintop about 10 minutes ago, you'd have heard them outside performing. So we're looking forward to that. Justin Logue is the front man with the Logues. Justin has brought out a new book and he's doing some children's stuff and it's just amazing. So we're looking forward to Justin calling up around about 9 o'clock. And we've got an exclusive. We have a great singer from Omagh in County Tyrone. Goes by the name of Conor Chisholm, and he's here tonight, and he is absolutely amazing. And he's along with his granda, which we're delighted to see is another exclusive for us here in the programme. The one and only Frank Chisholm. It's Irish Music Month, and yes, this coming Friday, 4 of our winners will be taking part in the local hero competition. It'll be taking place this Friday, the 6th, on the 9 afternoon show. Myself and Jimmy will be at the Angreenan Theatre. Are we co-presenting it, Jimmy? That'll be good. And 4 finalists were picked, and they will be representing us here at the Highland Radio Studios. Zoe McCauley, Tessio, Owen Ferry, and the rock band the Fades. And there's tickets available. You contact the. We'll talk about it after, and it's free. Eh? We'll tell you about it after. Anyway, listen. There's our first group up. This is Tessio.
At 10:15 on Sunday night, I was fast asleep. I was out like a light, and a fighting in the streets. But I swear I wasn't crying. I swear I wasn't crying. I lived with her, she lived with me. I promise you, sir, I was so drunk I couldn't see. The blood would shut my eyelids without me even knowing. But I swear I wasn't crying. I swear I wasn't crying. Take it off the wall, hang it on my back. It's gonna be something when everything is black. I take it out the wall, hang it on my back. It's gonna be something someone who's violent, but I did get in a fight, and I'd like to remain silent. Cause I did not win that fight, but that doesn't mean I was crying. Oh, why would I be crying? I hate the dirt who sent me to bed. I left looking worse, no teeth left in my head. My taxi man was drunk, and not as drunk as me. My taxi man, he's drunk, but at least he still could see. That doesn't mean I was crying. Oh, why would I